Have you ever felt this anxiety waiting for a text at 2 a.m.? Or on the other side, have you ever felt this urge of running away and this feeling of being overwhelmed when you were getting close to someone? Well, what you just felt actually has a name, and it's called attachment styles. And once you understand how it works, you will never go back and all of your relationship will improve. So in this video, we will learn what attachment styles actually are and where they come from. We will see a breakdown of all the 4 different attachment styles and what each of them feels, fears, and does. Then I will help you to identify your attachment style with a self-assessment and some quiz and questions. And finally, we will see whether or not you can actually change it. So what are attachment styles? Attachment styles are patterns that will shape the way you feel, the way you think, how you behave in close relationships, and especially in romantic ones. And so they influence how much closeness you're gonna crave, how you communicate, how you handle conflicts, and so on. And basically they just dictate how you behave in relationships. And so where is your attachment style coming from? So basically in the 70s they did some research and they found out that attachment styles are formed in early childhood, and it's based on how your caregivers, your parents, were taking care of you, how much they were responding to your needs, how would they show you love, how would they care for you, and even, for example, how would they handle conflict between themselves. And so you grow up with this picture of how you interact between two persons that loves each other, and you learn from them by observing them and by the way they treat you. And that shapes your attachment style later in life. And so in the 70s, they did this experiment where they would take a mom and their baby, and the mom will leave the room and then she will come back. And then they will observe how the babies will react to this situation. And some babies were very calm. So those babies turned out to be the secure ones. Then some babies will start to cry a lot, they will be very clingy, and those babies turn out to be very anxious later. And then the last one, some babies would pretend that they don't need the mom when she returns. They will ignore the mom or just dismiss her. And those babies turned out to be the avoidant ones. And then later they did more studies and they realized that there's a 4th attachment style, which is disorganized. So now that you understand better attachment styles, let's talk about the 4 different types of attachment styles. The first one is anxious. The main fears of the anxious person are rejection, abandonment, and this idea of not being enough. And because they think they're not enough, they are very scared that if someone gets to know them for who they are, then they will leave, because that person will realize that they're not enough. When it comes to intimacy and closeness, the anxious one wants to be all the time with their partners. They want to be very close. It's almost like they want to be one with the person they love. And they spend so much energy into thinking about the relationship. When it comes to communication, the anxious person is very indirect. They just expect their partner to guess what's wrong with them or how they feel, and if there's something wrong in the relationship, they would not express it. Another thing is that whenever something is not going their way or there is a disagreement, they tend to be very overwhelmed with their emotions, and their emotions start to go absolutely crazy. They have big emotional outbursts. They start feeling guilt or sadness, or again this feeling of not being enough. The thing is that anxious tends to expect the partner to be the main way of calming down. They expect their partners to be the one who's gonna soothe them and calm them down. And they also need a lot of reassurance. They tend to put their partner's needs above their own needs. Also, often for anxious, when there's conflict or when there's silence, it means that the relationship is over. They start thinking that the relationship is over, and that's why also they tend to be so emotional and so much in distress when there's a conflict, because they think that the partner is gonna leave. So the next attachment style is avoidant. And avoidance, their biggest fear is to not have their independence anymore, to be controlled by their partners. They also tend to be scared that their partner is gonna take advantage of them, and they also often feel overwhelmed by relationships and by people. When it comes to intimacy and closeness, often the avoidance one, once they get in a relationship with someone, once they get the person they wanted, they tend to have a lot of doubts whether this person is the right one, if they make the right choice, and they really doubt the entire relationship. They also have this need for always maintaining some kind of distance, whether it's emotional or physical, but they really need to put some distance within the relationship. And then something that is not talked enough is that not all avoidance, but a lot of avoidance, they have some addictions. They have some addictions to work, to sex, to alcohol, to partying, to sport even, and basically they use their addictions to escape the relationship. For them, communication is really a struggle. They struggle to express the emotions, and when they tend to go through something, they tend to shut down and to be alone, and they want to deal with their emotions alone. They also have a hard time expressing boundaries, and for them it's very uncomfortable when other people are dependent on them. And when other people comes to them and express their feelings and things that happen to them, they also tend to shut down or to not be responsive. So the way that avoidance deal with conflict is through withdrawal. It's through avoidance and running away and avoiding the conversation, and they can sometimes become very cold, and they tend to see things through a logic angle more than an emotional angle. Now, the third attachment style we're going to talk about is an attachment style that we don't talk about enough, and this is the disorganized attachment style. So the biggest fear of the disorganized attachment style is at the same time commitment and abandonment. And the person that they love and need the most is also the person that they fear the most. When it comes to closeness and intimacy, the disorganized deeply want connection, but at the same time they are terrified by it. They're always in this push and pull dynamic where they will be very clingy and then run away, very clingy, run away. For them, relationships feel like very chaotic and threatening and disorienting. When it comes to communication, they tend to be very inconsistent. So one moment or one day they're gonna be very warm and loving and expressing their emotions, and then the next they will be very cold and they will not give any news, they will not answer texts, things like that. Every time they're gonna be in a relationship that is healthy and works really well, they're gonna sabotage it immediately. They're gonna find a reason to sabotage everything. For them, it's very hard to trust, and it's hard to feel safe, to be vulnerable and to express their emotions, but at the same time they really crave it. So now I can understand why it's called disorganized, because it's one way then the other, and there's not one specific dynamic to the way they deal with relationships. And so disorganized people tend to expect and view the partners in a very inconsistent way. So basically, one day they're gonna absolutely idolize that person, and they're gonna think that that person is the best person ever and really put them on a pedestal. And then the next minute, this person is not worth the time and energy, and they're gonna find all the flaws that you can think of, and they really go through this thing of, yeah, this is the most amazing person and this is the worst person ever. Another thing is that they expect their partners to hurt them. So often what happens is that the disorganized will hurt them first or leave first, so they will not get hurt, so the other person will not get the chance to leave them. During conflicts, the disorganized people will be very, very reactive. So they will go from 0 to 100 in a minute. And for them, conflict is very threatening, and they can also think that the relationship is going to be over if there's any kind of conflict. But at the same time, they can also disengage and completely shut down or dissociate whenever there's a disagreement or a conflict. So the final attachment style is the secure one. Basically, the secure one doesn't have any big fears regarding relationships, but they generally believe that they are worthy of love and that they can trust their partners. One thing is that they see relationship as something safe and not something to be afraid of. In intimacy and closeness, the secure person will really enjoy spending time and being close to their partner. They will also love to spend time with themselves, have some alone time, have some time with their friends, doing their own thing. And they will be very affectionate, very present, and consistent. And one thing is that secure people, they can adapt. So basically, if they're with someone that needs more time and more attention, more time together and things like that, they can adapt and give them that. And on the other hand, if the partner needs more time alone, then they're also capable of adapting and giving them that without thinking it's the end of the relationship or that the other person hates them, and also while always respecting their own needs. For secure people, communication is very easy. It's easy, they can express their needs, their emotion very calmly, in a very healthy way. They can receive feedback from their partners without thinking it's the end of the world and without crying and having emotional outbursts. And also one thing that is very important is that their words match their actions. And finally, when there is conflict, the secure person knows that an argument is not the end of the world, that it's not the end of the relationship, and that it's just something that happens sometimes in relationships. Also, if a partner goes cold or doesn't feel well, they're gonna try to understand what's happening. Instead of ignoring or instead of panicking, they will just ask questions and try to understand. Their goal when there's a disagreement or an argument is to repair what was broken, to understand, to talk, to communicate, rather than trying to win the argument. And they just want to sit down and solve the problem together instead of one against the other. So now, before I help you to understand what is your attachment style, I wanted to talk about one or two small things because it might help you to understand better and identify better your specific attachment style. So the first thing is that even though attachment style start in childhood, often that attachment style can change. It can change based on the life experience you went through. So, for example, someone that was secure can become very anxious, or someone that was anxious can become avoidant, and so on. So that's, I think, important to keep in mind, because sometimes you had an amazing childhood, but yet you still end up being anxious, for example, because you were with partners that didn't treat you well, or you went through some traumas, and then it changed your attachment style. The last thing is the numbers. I wanted to give you a few numbers regarding how common an attachment style is. So basically, secure is about 50%, 55. Anxious is about 20. Avoidant is about 25, and disorganized is about 5% of the population. So I think it's actually very reassuring, because it means half the population is secure. So you have high chances to be with someone secure or to be secure yourself. So now it's time for you to understand which attachment style you are and identify what's your attachment style. Here I have a few prompts that I'm gonna read with you, and it's gonna help you see which one you are. I often worry that my partner will stop loving me. I always think about whether my partner is cheating. I feel constant need to prove that I'm worthy of love. I often worry that I'm not attractive enough, or just not good enough in general. I expect my partner to guess when something is wrong. When I feel down, I cannot help myself, and I need my partner to help me when I have emotional outbursts. After a breakup, I focus a lot of energy on making my ex regret leaving me. If my partner is distant, I immediately assume that it's my fault. And I can become obsessive when I don't get a response from them. If multiple of those sentences really resonate with you, then it means that you are anxious. Next one. I miss my partner when we are apart, but feel the urge to escape when we are together. I hate when people depend on me emotionally. When I finally get what I wanted in a relationship, I'm suddenly unsure of what I want. I experience random bursts of irritation or disgust toward my partner. I don't feel comfortable opening up or talking about feelings. I have patterns of addiction, especially with work, alcohol, sex, screens, or sport, or anything that can be an escape to the relationship. It's hard for me to be emotionally supportive of my partner when they're struggling. I keep finding new flaws in my partners. If multiple of those sentences seems to be true about you, then you're most likely to have an avoidant attachment style. Third one, I desperately want to love, but relationships feels terrifying. I go from feeling very close to my partner to suddenly wanting to run. When things go well, I find a way to sabotage them. I've experienced trauma, chaos, or abuse in early life or in past relationships. Conflicts send me into spiral, and it feels catastrophic. I cling and push people away. I alternate between idealizing my partner and hating my partner. If you have many of those sentences, then of course you are disorganized. And then last one, I find it easy to show affection to my partner. I can express my needs. When we argue, I know it's not the end of the relationship. If my partner seems distant, I just check in and try to understand. I know I'm enough and deserve to be loved. I feel consistently satisfied in my relationship. My love and actions are consistent and aligned. I enjoy my time alone as much as I enjoy my time with my partner. Then congratulations, if you have multiple of those sentences true for you, then you are secure. If you're still not sure about what is your attachment style, then you have many quiz online. I will put one down in the description. But yeah, you have so many online if you want to go deeper into it. Now that you know so many things about attachment style, the question is, can you actually change it? And I have a good news, because yes, you can. You can absolutely change your attachment style, though it requires a lot of work. Like, I mean, really a lot of work. And when I say that it takes time to heal your attachment style, I say it from experience. You know, for me, what happened is that in my previous relationship almost 4 years ago, I realized that I was in those patterns, that I was repeating the same cycles. And so I decided to take a break from dating and all of that and to work on myself. And I thought, oh, it's gonna take me 3 months. In 3 months, I will have completely healed my attachment style and I will be back into dating. But actually, it took me 3 years. 3 full years to actually change my attachment style. Maybe for you it's gonna take less time, maybe it's gonna take more time, I don't know, everyone have a different path. But the thing is, for sure, you're gonna have to put a lot of effort, a lot of energy, and you actually need to want to change your attachment style. So attachment styles are not permanent, and you have the power in you to change it. And now that you know more about how it works and where it comes from, why you have such attachment style and what is your attachment style, it's gonna be much easier to change it and to improve your relationships. I hope that this video was useful, that you've learned new things, and I would like to know what attachment style you are, or what are the things that you've learned that you didn't know about attachment style before. And see you soon.